Straight ahead on WBKB, another community rocked by a mass shooting.
Plus, a possible criminal indictment of former President Donald Trump and local reaction to increased capacity limits.
You are watching Thunder Bay News Network. WBKB News at 6 starts now.
This is WBKB News at 6. An in-depth look at news, weather, and sports. From hard-hitting news stories to local events, we're there with coverage you can count on. You're watching WBKB News at 6.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Sherry Stewart.
And I'm Tyler Cruz. 9 people are dead and several injured after a gunman opened fire at a transportation center in San Jose, California.
The gunman is among the dead. Lynn Ramirez has the latest from San Jose.
911 calls started coming in just after 6:30 this morning, reporting an active shooter at the Valley Transportation Authority rail yard near downtown San Jose.
There are 8 victims that are pronounced deceased at this point, and there's 1 suspect that's pronounced deceased. There are VTA employees that are victims.
The suspect, whose name is not being released, was a VTA employee. Deputies immediately swarmed the scene.
We received information that there are explosive devices that are located inside the building.
The FBI and ATF are assisting with the investigation.
It is a fairly sizable crime scene and is going to take a while to process.
We also heard from a recent briefing that there was a very heroic effort by law enforcement to go in and extract victims during this apparent gun battle that was ensuing at the VTA facility.
VTA is a family. People in the organization know everyone. This is a terrible tragedy, and we will do everything we can to help people get through this.
The rail yard is next to the County Government Center, which also houses the Santa Clara County Sheriff's Department. Len Ramirez, CBS News, San Jose.
A grand jury has convened to decide whether to indict the Trump Organization, its employees, or even former President Donald Trump himself.
Yes, Sherry, and Manhattan District Attorney Cy Vance has been gathering evidence for years as part of a probe into potential tax and bank fraud, among other crimes. Laura Podesta has more.
A 2-year investigation into the Trump Organization may be advancing into a new phase. A source confirms to CBS News the Manhattan District Attorney's Office is convening a special grand jury to possibly consider criminal charges against top executives at former President Trump's company. A key target of the investigation is longtime Trump Organization CFO Allen Weisselberg.
There is no transaction financially that did not go through Allen Weisselberg.
CBS News has learned investigators are looking at the legality of tuition payments Weisselberg made to his grandchildren's New York private school. His former daughter-in-law says some of the checks were signed by Weisselberg or Donald Trump.
Among the issues Manhattan DA Cy Vance is investigating, possible hush payments made on behalf of Mr. Trump to silence women who've claimed to have had affairs with him, and potential property overvaluations.
Possible charges of bank fraud, insurance fraud, tax fraud. This is a problem for Donald Trump if Allen Weisselberg becomes a witness against him.
Those real estate accusations are something Mr. Trump's former personal lawyer, Michael Cohen, alleged to Congress 2 years ago.
To your knowledge, did the president or his company ever inflate assets or revenues?
Yes.
And was that done with the president's knowledge or direction?
Everything was done with the knowledge and at the direction of Mr. Trump.
In a statement, Mr. Trump called the investigation purely political and driven by highly partisan Democrat prosecutors. Laura Podesta, CBS News.
Here's meteorologist Ellie Morrison with a first check of the weather. Ellie, it's getting cooler, and I kind of like it.
And Tyler, it's going to continue getting colder heading into tonight. Currently, we are seeing more cloud cover for areas north of M72. This is a look at Lachine, where we're seeing partly sunny skies, but a lot of clouds overhead. In Rose City, the skies are mainly clear. We are seeing mainly clear skies for those areas south of M72. More blue sky in that area. over places south of Alpena. Temperatures tonight are going to be heading into the upper 30s. First, we'll be in the middle to lower 40s during most of this evening. During the early morning, lows near 38 degrees under most of northeast Michigan. We have a frost advisory. I'll detail where that is in effect a little bit later. And then for tomorrow, we'll be heading up to highs only reaching 54 degrees. That's going to be running about 15 degrees below normal. It stays cool for Friday. I'll let you know when warmer temperatures and more sunshine look to make it into our forecasts coming up later in the program.
I didn't know it was that cold.
Yeah. Thank you, Ellie. We'll see you in a bit. The Michigan Department of Health and Human Services says more than 50% of residents in Alpena, age 16 and older, are vaccinated against COVID-19. Neighboring communities like Alpena County are also in the 50th percentile. Montmorency County is at 48%, and Presque County has close to 60% of residents vaccinated. As of Tuesday, Alpena County has seen over 1,800 cases of COVID-19 and 59 deaths. The state has seen close to 900,000 cases of the virus with over 700,000 deaths. For more information on COVID cases and vaccination sites, you can visit WBKB11.com.
Beginning on June 1st, Sherry, there will be no capacity limits on outdoor gatherings and events, and indoor venues will also see an increase in their capacity as well. We spoke with a few local businesses on what this means for them. As Michigan's vaccination rates continue to climb, we've seen more and more pandemic restrictions become a thing of the past. Starting next week, outdoor events can return to normal, and indoor venues can begin to welcome more customers back.
I just feel that there's a lot of people coming in here that just feel safer now that so many have gotten the vaccination.
On June 1st, indoor dining and events like parties, weddings, and more can bring in 50% of the customers they did pre-pandemic. The capacity limit has been at 25% since indoor dining opened back up in February.
Yay. I think we're all excited about that. We're looking forward to it going up to 50 and then hopefully full-time.
Small business owners in Alpena say it's great to be able to get some sense of normalcy back and start doing the things they were doing over a year ago.
It's going to be great because one of our biggest things we throw is concerts, and we've had concerts here where there's been 1,000 people. We had 1,400 here for Imagination Movers, which was a kids event. So being able to get back to those numbers, because I'll tell you, it was tough. It was tough about a year ago.
While June 1st marks the day where more of us can start to enjoy life together again, Governor Whitmer has said the final step out of the pandemic will come shortly after.
It feels good. I think we've all been kind of waiting for it and just wanting it, and especially since we're going into our season here in Alpena, so it's going to be nice.
At her press conference last week, Whitmer said mask mandates and all mitigation measures during the pandemic will be lifted, and Michigan can return to normal on July 1st.
Health experts say social media is contributing to depression in children. Online platforms are a big part of many teens' lives. A 2018 survey of teens 13 to 17 years old found startling results. 45% of teens are online almost constantly, and 97% use a social media platform such as YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, or Snapchat. But what impact does social media use have on teens?
Children have not developed their brains fully. So they are not always able to see the future the way that an adult might. They aren't able to see, if I do this today, this could affect me years down the road. And
Talent says social media is designed to keep viewers hooked, which creates addictive behaviors and withdrawals.
their dopamine centers will fire when they get likes. They will fire and say, oh, they'll light up and say, oh, this is so great, when they get noticed. And then if they don't get noticed, then the opposite happens, and they can become very depressed and anxious.
Talent says one way to keep children and teens away from the pressures of social media is to create limits and boundaries. For more tips and information, you can view this story on WBKB11.com.
That's really interesting,
Yeah.
especially because social media is all around everybody
everywhere.
now. More news ahead for you here on WBKB. Coming up on Next Level Wednesday, WBKB's Stephanie Minichi visits the Heart Mind Center in Alpena, and meteorologist Elliot.
Bear viewing. Thank you, Davey, for sending us this photo. If you have a photo such as nature shots, pics with friends, or interesting sights you see that you'd like to send us, email it along with a short description to news@WBKB11.com.
I don't know what's wrong with attracting the bears. They just look a little hungry, you know, the bare necessities.
No.
Coming up on WBKB News, it's Next Level Wednesday, and Matt Dazinski will have the latest in sports. Stay tuned.
It's Next Level Wednesday. Today, WBKB's Stephanie Minichi talks meditation, mindfulness, and movement with a local entrepreneur. Take a look.
Welcome to Next Level Wednesday. Today we are delving in the world of wellness. I spoke with Brian Scorn at Heart Mind Center, who's going to tell us a little bit about how he got in that field. Brian, thank you so much for joining me today. For those of us that don't know, tell me a little bit about Heart Mind Center.
It is a meditation center that is grounded in 3 different types of practices, including meditation, mindfulness, and movement.
Do you have a unique story that led you to this field, or was it something that you always wanted to do?
It didn't happen until 2006 or 7, when I kind of had a situation in my life where everything fell apart. And so I knew that I didn't have an understanding of how my mind worked, because I wasn't able to work very well with it at that point. So I decided I wanted to find out more about how the mind works, and in the process came across meditation practices. And so I was at a point in my life where I had time to do some retreats across the country. And so I ended up spending 3 months in Colorado and 3 months in Vermont at meditation centers doing intensive training and study. And from there, I ended up, practicing ever since, studying on my own.
You've persevered through incredible hardships and challenges. What advice do you have for someone who's at that?
Thanks for that, Stephanie. And yes, so many people want to give up before reaching the finish line.
Yeah, and I like that he said, once you feel like giving up, just keep going. It is way too soon. Sports is coming up next, but first, Matt Dazinski is in with a preview. Matt, what's going on tonight?
Thanks, Tyler. Up next in sports, another Michigan Wolverine.
Oh, welcome back. Now, all of you and Sherry, you guys have to check this out. This is how I felt in yesterday's humidity. Now, here's another edition of Pets of the Week, but I don't really know if these guys are pets. Meet Tilly, Flora, and Hobson. These are 3 orphaned and rescued river otters at the Oregon Zoo, enjoying some ice time this week, but not the kind of ice time we'll see in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And these guys look so happy to be cooling off, and as summer's right around the corner, they'll probably be spending some more time in that bucket. Now, that looks refreshing. I could go for a dive in an ice bucket.
They do look like they're having a good time. Good for them.
Thank you for watching WBKB News at 6.
Visit WBKB11.com for sports, weather, and news updates anytime, day or night.
And check us out on our Facebook page and Twitter handle at WBKB11.
Join us tonight for WBKB News at 11 with Stephanie Minichi. Have a great evening.